Welcome to episode 3 of the Mindset series. It's all about the jungle. And if you want to be the king of the jungle, the King Kong amongst your peers, this is the video for you. We're going to be taking an in-depth look at the jungle and how we can apply some key MOBA concepts in order to take your gaming to the next level. Stay tuned. It's going to be a great video. Hey everybody, it's your boy Snyder1 with Snyder Elite Gaming, bringing you episode 3 of the Mindset series. If you have not seen episode 1 or episode 2, I am going to be putting a link in the description so you can go back and see that content. Especially if you guys are mid laner or support type people, those videos have so much information for you. I highly recommend them. Now, this week we're going to be going into the jungle role and what it means to be a jungler. Now, with that being said, I start all my Mindset videos with a definition by defining the role. Now, what is a jungler? What does it mean to be a jungler? The most simplest way I can possibly define the role is you are a roaming playmaker that levels up by killing neutral monsters in between the lanes. Now, in layman's terms, what does that mean? You are the champion that kills minions in order to level up. But that doesn't tell you what it means to truly be a jungler. So I got 4 main concepts in order to decide or help mold what it means to be a jungler in a nutshell, in order to help you know whether or not it's the role for you. So first one, high Paragon IQ. If you don't have it, you're probably not going to be a good jungler. So if you're not interested in putting in the time to understanding the game, this probably isn't the role for you, because it's probably the hardest role, if not the hardest role to master. The second thing is being a 100% good to go multitasker. If you ain't able to multitask, you ain't going to be able to jungle, because you got to be able to split your time between, killing minions in the jungle and attacking lanes, making and showing lane pressure. Third is prioritization. If you cannot set a priority on certain situations in order to combat the enemy, you really aren't going to succeed as a jungler, because knowing whether or not it's okay to farm jungle creeps or protect the tower seems like common sense, but a lot of people fall into the category of, oh man, I should have done that, or I should have done that. The role is very, very preemptive, meaning you need to know what happens if you don't do certain things in certain situations. You have to be able to identify certain characteristics that the enemy team are showing, whether it be overextending, whether it be split pushing. You need to be able to understand those concepts and be able to prioritize saving certain objectives, attacking certain subjectives, and being able to really focus your fire on the enemy. And last thing is going to be personality. I'm a firm believer in personality being being very, very involved with the characters that we play. If you are a super aggressive person, jungling may not be for you, because if you're over aggressive and you're not able to really understand fights you're not supposed to go into, or fights you are like jumping into the tower, and you it's just, if you're over aggressive, you run the chance of being a feeder. And if you start feeding, not only are you going to fall behind, but you're going to really make lanes almost unplayable, because you've fed the enemy team, and then your teammates are going to fall behind, and it's just a domino effect. Same thing goes for passive players. If you're super passive and you're never in the lane, that means that there's going to be a lack of pressure. And with a lack of pressure, you fall victim to losing early game objectives too soon. Whether it be tier 2s, whether it be raptors, it's so numerous what a passive jungler can affect. So, with that being said, I am going to go ahead and focus in on some of these objectives as I talk you through the different phases in the match. And then at the end, I'm going to kind of reiterate all the things that we talked about in the video. And then I'm going to say peace to you guys and upload it to YouTube. So with that being said, first 30 seconds of the game, in every video I've ever done, I've always started the video, or at least the phases of the game, with wards. If the Paragon creators didn't want you to have some sort of way to have vision and on your enemy team and be able to create situations, they wouldn't have made wards. So I'm going to start my video off by saying that the jungler should have a dummy ward. You should be placing your dummy ward where it can be most effective. Now, this is where high gaming IQ comes in. When you are placing your dummy ward, you got relatively 3 places that you should be really thinking about placing that ward. Now, if you are a counter jungle type of guy and you feel like you need to make your team better by getting them extra experience in the Amber Link, then you might want to be thinking about putting your dummy ward in the right side jungle right next to the inner camp. Why? Because when the enemy jungler pops up on the map and sees that, you are effectively able to say, hey, he's in right lane, left lane is clear and ready for me to jungle. So then you're able to counter jungle. If you are one of those guys that are super protective of your teammates and you realize that your mid laner didn't put any wards, so currently there are no wards on mid lane, then, hey, put a dummy ward on the left side of the fog wall so he doesn't get ganked up by the enemy jungler early within the first 3 minutes. Protect your teammates. And lastly, if you're a super aggressive person and you really want to contest the green buff, put it in left side enemy jungle right next to the green buff so that when he's low and he's trying to get that green buff, that you're able to gank him and possibly steal the green buff. Those are high IQ choices that really are personality dependent on what you feel is more, effective for your teammate, what gives you the most information to judge situations on, and can really help you out. So after this 30-second ward, what are we doing? What's the next thing on your mind? How are we trying to play this game out? I'm going to touch on priority. Your priority should be the 3-minute clear. Now, there's only a certain amount of junglers right now that can really clear in 3 minutes because of the minion changes in patch 40. So those minion changes allowed, made it almost impossible for slow clears or people that don't have a way to combat the damage done by minions they really can't kite the minions as well. So currently you got Chimera, Quang, and Rampage. They can do 3-minute clears. I've done it. I know they can do it, and that is by far the easiest clear that you could possibly do. And why are we doing this 3-minute clear? Why are we doing this? Because it allows us to really contest the river buffs. When you contest a river buff, you could possibly get a mid lane gank and early damage on the tier 1 tower. You can get your support to really shift over onto that buff and possibly get him mana so that he can support the AD carry, or even take it and be selfish for yourself and take that mana regeneration and go and put it to use in your jungle. So depending on what you choose, it can set up a lot. So really prioritizing that 3-minute clear is huge. So those are the 3 that I know that can do it. If you are going to try to do it with a Sevrog or like a Sereth or some kind of squishy champion, you are going to have to instill some sort of kiting ability. You need to circle the minions. You need to force one minion to attack you at all times, and then you kill the camp one minion at a time while mitigating the damage. So that is kiting in a nutshell. And the champions that are going to need to kite are more or less the ones that don't have the sustainability or the health or regen that is available to them early in the jungle. If you can't do the 3-minute clear, know your limitations. Know that you can't do it, and instead of contesting the buff, clear all the minions on right, all the minions on left, and really prioritize getting the level 5 so that you are strong enough to contest buffs. So contesting buffs, possibly getting the mid lane gank, possibly getting the mid lane tower. That's 3 minutes. At the 3-minute mark, also your guys' ward that you placed is going to be come into effect, because left lane is where is when that's going to come. When you've done clearing right lane is when left lane starts to become a priority. So you have a couple more seconds on that ward to really see if you want to start counter jungling. If the ward has disappeared already, then you don't necessarily have to worry about it, but you can really possibly think about placing or getting a ward and making more opportunities with your wards in the enemy jungle, because now you have the chance to kind of put it in your toolbox, in your wheelhouse, because by this time you should have enough card power to place on wards. Now, so 3-minute clear, the enemy tower, prioritizing. What's next? What are we doing after 3 minutes? Prioritizing 5 minutes. You want to go at the 5-minute mark. You're going to be looking at buffs. At the 5-minute mark, you're going to be looking at offlane tower should be being destroyed or possibly falling, and that's a big deal. So at the 5-minute mark, you're looking at left lane. You're looking at how much trouble your offlaner has been going through. How many times has he died? How many kills does the AD carry have? How much health is on that tower? So if you are a aggressive jungler, you should have been prioritizing level 5 and possibly ganking left lane. If you are a passive jungler, you're a guy like Sevrog that waits till late game to really start affecting the game, you should be looking to relieve the left lane at the 5-minute mark in order to guarantee that he's going to have enough health to protect that tower to 10 minutes. So prioritizing the protection of a tower versus ganking the people inside it. Now, if you're a Chimera, like this gentleman is, he needs to be everywhere just creating chaos. He needs to have a huge lane pressure, because late game his lane pressure just dies off. If you are a passive jungler, you need to be relieving people so that they can effectively protect the tower and gradually gain enough card power to kind of null and void the enemy team, especially as they start grouping up towards the mid game. So after the 5-minute mark and you've gone through that, you need to be prioritizing secondary objectives like Raptors. Now Raptors should be popping up at 8 minutes, and really your team should be ready for it by 10 minutes. If you're solo queuing, if you guys have a 5-man squad, there's no reason for you not to be able to do it right when they pop up. So how do we secure the secondary objective as a jungler? The way you're going to do it is by securing the tier 1 towers in the assorted area. So what I mean by that, so right on this map right here behind me, you got the Raptors are on the left side. So you want to prioritize left first tower and mid first tower. If it's on the right, obviously it shifts to right tower and mid tower. So how do we prioritize this? You prioritize ganks, and then once you get the successful gank, you prioritize the tower afterwards. A lot of junglers fall victim to leaving too soon. They don't just gank, they gank and then they go back into the jungle and then they just rinse and repeat and nothing to show for their hard work. So instead of doing that, what you should be doing is ganking the lane and then automatically switching to objective taking the tower. And the easier time to do this is when you have a multiple people. So if you have the support shifting over with you to counter a buff, you take mid lane, and then you push the mid tower, you take the mid tower, and then you focus the tower that is closest to Raptors. Once you've secured those 2 towers, it should be a rinse and repeat method of going into the jungle, popping into the lane. Now, this is where it comes to multitasking. My second point that I made. When you're multitasking, you should be infecting the 2 camp rule. If you don't know what that is, I'm going to explain it. It is 100%. You kill 2 camps, look at the map, see what I can affect, go back to killing 2 camps, looking to see what I can affect. It's a way that you don't fall behind in your experience and CP by being able to kill minions and be in the lane. It helps you really break up your time and learn map awareness. If you are a more advanced player, the 2 camp rule may not seem all that important to you because you're always looking at the map anyways. It's a good tool to learn map awareness and to really start affecting the team better. So focusing tier 1s in order to secure Raptors. Now prioritization. Around the 10-minute mark, you really can start seeing who's having trouble and who's not. So by popping out the scorecard and seeing who is having trouble, who's dying a lot, who's getting ahead on the enemy team, you should prioritize those champions before your efficiency at killing people in 1v1 and before they start grouping up as a team starts happening. So right now you got we'll say that their Grux is getting ahead, right? This Chimera should focus on the Grux because we don't want him to snowball the other lanes and give their team an advantage. The AD carry is going to be dangerous late game. That's a priority. And you should really start focusing on it earlier, but if you are a Sevrog and you're starting to lane drift into late game, 11 to 15 minutes is the latest you can wait in prioritizing champions. If they got more than 4 kills, they become unstoppable, and then there's nothing you can do. At that time, prioritization changes from setting back champions to making good decisions that are going to affect the game. So if you get those whiny babies that are dying like 10 times in a match, and they're really telling you, hey, you need to help me, you need to be in my lane, you need to do this, you need to... I'm sorry, that is not my role. My role is to do whatever I want, whenever I want, so long as it benefits the team. And me dying for you because you've died 1,000 times early is not part of my description. What you should be doing is going and trying to snowball a different lane to counteract the snowball that happened in that lane. Looking at taking tier 2s so you can absorb some of the pressure off of that lane. So if they're taking 2 tier 2s on left, take 2 tier 2s on right, and then switch to the left lane to protect the inhib. And you got to make sure that you are staying even in your team fights, in your team battles. So you got to try to make everything as equal as possible, and that is your job. So ignoring the requests of the stupid in order to facilitate the best for the team is part of your job description, and that all boils down to priority and high game IQ, knowing what you are able to do and what you're not able to do. Last thing, team fights. So as a jungler, for the most part, Chimeras or even Gruxes, they have a really big shift in what their description of what they're supposed to be doing. And a lot of people do not get that shift correct. They continue to try to 1v1 into the late game, and they totally botch the entire game. That is not what's supposed to be happening. What should be happening is you shift. You should be shifting from a 1v1 assassin to a basically an off tank. If you are a Sevrog, you are an initiating tank. So your job description is based off of the champions that you choose. But the people that you focus are relatively the same. In the team fight, you should be focusing high damage dealers and squishy champions. So basically the AD carry support and the mid laner. If they do have a Grux, you want to kind of ignore them. But at the same time, if they're attacking you, obviously you need to attack them back. You need to have some kind of retaliation. So, in a nutshell, you're attacking the squishy. If you're an off tank, you are the second person in. You're the second part of that freaking front line. But you're also the peel. If you're the ones being attacked, you're the ones that are attacking that front line in order to get them off of your carry, to get them off of your support. You should be not necessarily focusing on the AD carry at that point because they're the back line. You're the person that confronts the front line in order to get a good peel for or a good defense of your AD carry and your support, your squishies. You want to keep them alive as long as possible when you're in the defensive part of a team fight. In the offensive engagement, you are the second person in. You're initiating on the person that's been singled out with the hard CC. So for all you guys that are Sevrogs out there, do not single out the fucking tank. That is the worst. Don't waste it on that. What you should be singling out is the AD carry. You should be singling out the support or even the caster and separating him from the group so that the secondary off tank can engage on that guy as well, and you can eliminate him from the team fight. So, all phases of the game, dummy ward, 3-minute clear, 2-camp rule, contesting buffs, how you prioritize towers in order to secure secondary objectives, how warding is super important, personality, being too aggressive, being too passive, and if the number one takeaway is having a preemptive mindset. You need to know what's going to happen before it happens, and you need to offset that. So whether you're killing champions before they get strong, stopping people from being snowballed, or taking tier 2s while people are taking tier 1s. Things like that, you need to have a preemptive mindset. So that's all the topics that I wanted to hit for the jungler role. If I'm going to be posting this on my YouTube. If you liked my YouTube video, please hit that like button and subscribe. If you're just tuning into the stream, I appreciate you guys listening to me rant a little bit about the jungle and how to make you guys better. This is for the community. I'm not trying to waste my breath and be all about me. So, if you like the content, like and subscribe. If you have more questions, throw it in the comment section. Ask questions. I'm more than happy to answer them. And that's about it. You guys have a blessed day. Peace.